And here we see 116 ordinary excavators and the most record-breaking and productive 43 hours of work in Beijing.
While the rest of the world argues in conference rooms, drafts endless blueprints, and watches budgets spiral out of control, China simply builds. No delays, no debates, no drama, just raw, breathtaking execution. In a world where the United States often spends decades mulling over infrastructure upgrades, China is setting a pace that seems almost surreal. But is it just speed? Or is it something deeper? Something engineered into the very DNA of China's rise? Today, we'll crack open the mystery of how China pulled off in 43 hours what might take the US 2 presidential terms. Spoiler alert, it's not just about concrete and steel. It's about power, vision, and a race against time that China refuses to lose. The myth of infrastructure. Speed shattered. For decades, the world operated under a simple assumption that infrastructure, especially at scale, is slow. Bureaucracy, environmental studies, labor unions, and political red tape made construction an excruciatingly sluggish process, especially in developed nations like the United States. Bridges could take decades to build. Roads were planned and replanned over presidential cycles. The slow churn of democracy, some argued, was the price of transparency. But then, China came along and rewrote the rules, without asking for permission. One of the clearest illustrations of this shift came not from a newly built mega project, but from a bridge replacement. In Beijing, a critical urban interchange known as the Sanuan Bridge was completely dismantled and rebuilt, not over months or years, but in less than 2 days. 43 hours, to be precise. No shortcuts, no corner cutting, just surgical execution. The time-lapse footage of the entire operation left engineers and policymakers across the globe speechless. To put it in perspective, comparable infrastructure projects in the United States can take up to 20 years to finish. The complexities of approval, procurement, bidding, environmental impact reviews, and local politics create a quagmire that stalls progress. Meanwhile, in Beijing, the ground shifted. Old concrete vanished, and new steel rose, all within the time it takes to binge a weekend series on Netflix. The difference was not just technical, it was cultural, political, and systemic. The Sanuan Bridge wasn't some backwater crossing either. It sat at the junction of Beijing's East and North Third Ring roads, a vital artery where more than 13,000 vehicles pass every hour during peak times. Shutting it down for any extended period would have triggered traffic chaos across one of the world's most populous cities. So China didn't shut it down. They worked around it, under it, and ultimately through it. The decision to demolish and rebuild came after engineers identified a dangerous decline in the bridge's structural integrity. Built 3 decades earlier, the bridge was no longer equipped to handle Beijing's traffic explosion. Traditional methods would have meant years of partial closures and intermittent progress, but in China, business as usual was replaced with an audacious new plan: tear down and rebuild the entire thing in a single, continuous operation. The idea was staggering. Use synchronized transporters to remove the existing bridge in massive sections, slot in a prefabricated steel replacement, and do it all without shutting down the surrounding roads for more than a weekend. The entire plan depended on extreme coordination. Thousands of workers, engineers, supervisors, and logistics staff rehearsed their moves in digital simulations before a single bolt was turned. Time wasn't just money, it was national pride. Meanwhile, foreign observers could hardly believe what they were watching. Infrastructure experts in Europe and the United States called it logistically impossible and unprecedented. Politicians, especially in Western countries with failing roads and collapsing bridges, were left scrambling for answers. How could China move this fast without sacrificing quality or safety? The Sanuan Bridge replacement was more than just an engineering marvel. It was a global statement. While other nations debate, China decides. While others plan, China builds. And when others stall out under the weight of their own systems, China breaks through them, steel beam by steel beam. The nation of bridges, What sets China apart in the modern era is not just its towering buildings or sprawling cities, but the sheer magnitude and precision of its infrastructure planning, especially when it comes to bridges. China has become synonymous with bridge building, having created over 960,000 bridges that crisscross the nation like arteries in a living organism. These include massive highway structures, gravity-defying railway bridges, and even breathtaking overpasses that connect remote provinces with bustling urban hubs. While other nations struggle with bureaucratic delays and political indecision, China pushes forward with astonishing speed and efficiency, turning once isolated regions into thriving economic zones. An astonishing 45% of the nation's high-speed railway lines, stretching over 40,000 kilometers, are built on bridges. This figure alone dwarfs the entirety of many Western nations' rail systems and highlights how deeply bridges are embedded in the core of China's development strategy. The Chinese don't just build bridges for convenience, they build them to solve real-world problems in logistics, trade, and transportation. In mountainous regions, where traditional road construction would be economically unfeasible or environmentally damaging, bridges become lifelines that connect people to essential services and open the doors to new opportunities. One of the most remarkable examples of this bridge-building obsession is the Danyang-Kunshan Grand Bridge, which stretches a mind-boggling 164 kilometers. It's not just the world's longest bridge, it's a symbol of China's unrelenting commitment to pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Completed in just 4 years, it required over 10,000 workers and is engineered to withstand massive earthquakes, high-speed winds, and floods. Western media often marvels at such feats, but few understand the rigorous planning, technology, and coordination that go into them. The scale of these projects reflects China's long-standing philosophy of thinking in centuries. While some nations plan for election cycles, China plans for generations. Each bridge built today is meant to last decades, possibly even centuries, and is part of a broader, integrated vision for national development. From the economic corridors along the Yangtze River to the strategic rail lines reaching into Central Asia, bridges are not standalone structures. They are part of a larger network that forms the spine of China's Belt and Road Initiative, a global infrastructure plan aimed at reshaping global trade. International observers have taken notice. When British motoring expert Jeremy Clarkson toured China's infrastructure projects, he remarked in disbelief that China had no motorways in the late 1980s, and yet by the late 2010s, it had outpaced every other country in the world in terms of road and bridge development. His astonishment wasn't just about the speed, it was about the audacity. In China, the idea of building a 34-mile bridge across mountainous terrain isn't just plausible, it's expected. Bridges that would take Western countries a decade to approve and 20 years to complete are erected in a fraction of the time, often under budget and ahead of schedule. This incredible speed isn't just the result of centralized government control, it's a byproduct of what experts now call the China model of infrastructure, parallel development. Instead of following a sequential construction plan, demolishing, clearing, designing, and then building, China does it all simultaneously. Planning, approvals, procurement, and construction are all compressed into an accelerated timeline. This isn't cutting corners, it's a different paradigm, driven by ambition and powered by engineering discipline, coordination, and technological prowess. Perhaps one of the most striking symbols of China's bridge-building mastery is the Baypanjiang Bridge. Spanning a gorge so deep that it makes skyscrapers look like toys, the bridge towers over 500 meters above the valley floor. This feat of engineering, designed to withstand earthquakes and extreme weather, is a jaw-dropping testament to what can be achieved when vision and execution come together. Its construction not only shortened travel time between provinces from 4 hours to just 1, it also became a global icon of China's engineering capability. China's rise as the world's premier bridge builder isn't just about steel and concrete, it's about mindset. While much of the world debates whether projects are feasible, China is already breaking ground. In the West, the question is often, can we afford to build this? In China, the question is, how fast can we build it? And how far can we go? As the country continues to reshape its landscape with architectural wonders, the rest of the world is watching with both admiration and anxiety. Because in this game of speed, scale, and ambition, China isn't just winning, it's redefining the rules. A colossus in the clouds. Perched between the steep cliffs of China's southwest mountains, the Baypanjiang Bridge defies not only gravity, but global expectations. It's not just a bridge, it's a monument to what human engineering can achieve when ambition meets capability. Stretching across the Baypan River Gorge, this awe-inspiring structure once held the title of the world's highest bridge. But its significance goes far beyond accolades. It's a story of willpower, strategy, and technological evolution. Before this bridge, travel between the provinces of Guizhou and Yunnan was an arduous, multi-hour journey across rugged terrain. Today, thanks to this engineering marvel, a trip that once took 4 hours can now be completed in just 1. The sheer statistics of the Baypanjiang Bridge are staggering. The vertical drop from the bridge deck to the valley floor is 565 meters, higher than the Eiffel Tower stacked on top of the Statue of Liberty. Its main towers soar like giants, reaching heights that rival the world's tallest skyscrapers. 22,000 tons of steel, equal in weight to 5 Titanic ships, were used to construct its deck. Meanwhile, over 250 miles of steel cables stretch across the gorge to keep the structure suspended, a length that could reach from New York City to Washington, D.C. Such numbers aren't merely impressive, they're unprecedented in the history of civil engineering. But building the Baypanjiang Bridge wasn't just a matter of size, it was a relentless battle against the elements. Engineers had to navigate harsh winds, dense fog, freezing temperatures, and a geological foundation riddled with fault lines. Any mistake, even by a few millimeters, could have turned the project into a catastrophe. To meet these challenges, Chinese engineers developed pioneering technologies like smart concrete, capable of adjusting its own temperature to prevent cracking. They also employed a revolutionary moving formwork system, enabling workers to build vertical piers on steep cliffs without traditional scaffolding, a method now studied in engineering institutions worldwide. Perhaps most astonishing was how fast it all came together. Construction began in 2010 and was completed by the end of 2016, just 6 years. In contrast, American engineers admitted that had the project been undertaken in the United States, it could have taken 20 years or more, plagued by lawsuits, zoning issues, and bureaucratic red tape. This wasn't just a win for Chinese engineering. It was a direct challenge to the world's assumptions about what developing nations are capable of. China was no longer just catching up, it was overtaking. International reaction was swift. Engineers from across Europe and North America hailed the Baypanjiang Bridge as a pinnacle of human achievement. President Trump himself publicly remarked on China's infrastructure superiority, lamenting that the US could no longer compete without drastically changing its own approach. While some in the West dismissed these accomplishments as possible only through authoritarian decision-making, others looked deeper and recognized what was truly at play: efficiency, planning, and the refusal to accept limitations. Advanced artificial intelligence systems were even embedded into the bridge's design to monitor cable tension in real time, allowing for adjustments to be made automatically when strong winds hit or temperatures fluctuated. These systems ensured both durability and long-term safety, turning the bridge from a static structure into a smart, responsive engineering organism. This integration of AI and traditional engineering underlines China's forward-thinking approach, not just building big, but building smart. The Baypanjiang Bridge isn't just a link between 2 points on a map, it's a signal to the rest of the world. It says, we can build the impossible, and we can do it faster than anyone else. And while China is known for its ancient wonders like the Great Wall, this modern marvel now stands as a new national symbol, representing a country that once relied on imports for innovation, now exporting inspiration on a global scale. A bridge in 43 hours. The Sanuan miracle. While the Baypanjiang Bridge captures global imagination with its towering height, China's real flex of engineering dominance came in a form far more shocking. A full bridge replacement in just 43 hours. The Sanuan Bridge project in Beijing didn't stretch across a mountain gorge or span a record-breaking chasm, but it did something few in the world believed was possible. In a city bustling with over 20 million residents and endless streams of traffic, Chinese engineers managed to demolish an aging overpass and replace it with a completely new bridge, all without disrupting the city's rhythm. That speed sent shockwaves through civil engineering circles worldwide. The Sanuan Bridge stands at the intersection of Beijing's East 3rd Ring Road and North 3rd Ring Road, one of the most congested traffic points in the capital. It comprises 3 main bridges, 5 ramps, and 7 connectors, handling up to 13,000 vehicles an hour during peak times. By 2015, after 3 decades of wear and tear, it had become clear the structure was in dire need of an upgrade. But how do you replace such a vital artery in a city that never stops moving? Shutting it down for weeks or months was unthinkable. Chinese engineers knew they needed something radical. What followed was not just a repair job, but a surgical strike on inefficiency. Rather than using traditional construction timelines that would stretch into weeks or months, the Chinese opted for the replace-in-place method. In theory, it sounded straightforward: remove the old bridge and slot in the new one. But this wasn't Lego. It was real steel and concrete, with thousands of tons to maneuver. The new bridge had been pre-constructed off-site, waiting like a coiled spring. Workers rehearsed the procedure over and over using advanced 3D simulation models to make sure every minute was accounted for. By the time the clock started ticking at 11 p.m. on November 13, 2015, an army of engineers, technicians, and laborers were already in perfect sync. Yet, even with all this planning, surprises emerged. The 2,000-ton beam transporters assigned to remove the old bridge couldn't handle the actual weight. Turns out, the bridge came in at a crushing 2,900 tons. Instead of calling it quits or delaying the project, engineers quickly pivoted. They sliced the bridge into more manageable sections and called in additional cranes to lift and carry the pieces. The unexpected change pushed the timeline from 24 hours to 43 hours, but even that delay was still faster than what most countries could dream of. In the United States or Europe, such a project might still be in public consultation a year later. Placing the new bridge was another near-impossible task. The margin of error? Just 20 millimeters. One slip could misalign the entire structure, delaying everything. So engineers used a dual navigation system: China's Beidou satellite navigation for aerial precision and laser optic alignment systems for ground positioning. The result? A final deviation of just 9 millimeters, roughly the thickness of a pencil. Once the bridge was locked into place, crews immediately began the finishing work: pouring concrete, laying asphalt, installing barriers, and cleaning the site. By 6 p.m. on November 15th, traffic resumed. It wasn't just finished, it was flawless. The world didn't know what hit it. The time-lapse video of the Sanuan Bridge replacement went viral in 30 seconds. Engineers, professors, and politicians from all over the globe watched in disbelief. In one viral clip, a British academic compared the project to a similar bridge repair in Massachusetts that took nearly 7 years and went 3 times over budget. Meanwhile, China had done the same job in less than 2 days. Western social media erupted with memes, sarcasm, and a heavy dose of envy. In my country, we'd need 3 presidential terms just to approve the blueprint, one commenter joked. Another wrote, "This isn't infrastructure, this is sorcery." But this wasn't just about steel beams or project management, it was about governance. China's ability to align planning, resource allocation, and execution in such a coordinated fashion spoke volumes. In a world where bureaucracies often stall progress, China's approach showed what can happen when decisions are streamlined and goals are clearly defined. The Sanuan Bridge didn't just restore a vital traffic artery, it ignited a global conversation about what infrastructure development should look like in the 21st century. To this day, the Sanuan Bridge remains a masterclass in what's now called China speed. It's the standard by which modern engineering efficiency is measured. And while many nations still struggle to fix potholes, China is out here replacing entire highways before the weekend is over. It's not just impressive, it's intimidating. And as the world watches, one question remains. What on earth will they build next? China's parallel engineering revolution. While the West continues to debate timelines, budgets, and bureaucratic approvals, China has quietly ushered in a construction revolution. It's called parallel engineering, and it has become the backbone of China's infrastructure miracles. Unlike traditional models where design, demolition, and construction occur in sequence, China conducts these phases simultaneously. Think of it as designing the future while tearing down the past, all at once. This method compresses time in a way that defies the norms of civil engineering. And it's not just theory. China is applying this philosophy on a scale the world has never seen before. In the case of the Sanuan Bridge, this parallel model meant that while one team was dismantling the old structure, another had already finished prefabricating its replacement. All components were made off-site, in factories operating around the clock under military-style precision. These segments were then transported like puzzle pieces, ready to be assembled with robotic-level accuracy. Planning, simulation, production, logistics, and execution, everything moved in unison. The days of waiting for Phase 1 to finish before launching Phase 2, gone. In China, they're doing all 5 phases at once. This engineering leap wasn't born overnight. It's the result of decades of streamlining industrial capacity, embracing digital modeling, and creating a culture of rapid problem-solving. China's integration of AI, 3D simulations, and satellite navigation systems like Beidou into construction isn't a luxury, it's standard practice. Smart planning systems now calculate labor rotations, resource delivery schedules, and structural tolerances down to the second. While the United States is still arguing about zoning laws or environmental review boards, China is running simulations of construction scenarios thousands of times in digital sandboxes. Parallel engineering is also reinforced by China's unique command structure. Centralized planning allows for faster mobilization of teams, clear directives, and minimal interference from conflicting interest groups. It's a system designed for speed and scale. Of course, critics point to the lack of checks and balances, but for China, the trade-off is clear. Development comes first, and when measured in bridges built, tunnels completed, and cities transformed, China's approach is proving overwhelmingly effective. Take the Danyang-Kunshan Grand Bridge, for instance, the longest bridge in the world. Spanning over 102 miles, it supports the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed railway and cuts through rivers, lakes, and industrial zones. The sheer scale of that project would boggle the minds of most transportation planners in the West. And yet, it was completed in just 4 years. How? By building multiple sections simultaneously across different regions, coordinating hundreds of teams under a single master plan. This parallel strategy extends beyond bridges. Skyscrapers in Shenzhen, metro systems in Chengdu, and entire city blocks in Xiong'an have risen using this same model. In some cases, buildings have been constructed at a rate of 3 floors per day. Thanks to off-site modular construction and synchronized engineering, this isn't just urbanization, it's orchestration. China is building a symphony of infrastructure with every crane, every beam, and every rivet placed in calculated harmony. But parallel engineering isn't without risk. With speed comes the challenge of oversight. China has had its share of safety concerns and criticism for overbuilding. However, recent years have seen the country pivot towards sustainability and smarter planning. Strict construction quality laws have been enacted, and engineering firms are now held to stricter standards. AI systems now monitor structural integrity in real time, flagging even microscopic cracks before they pose a risk. The future, in China's case, is being built with both speed and self-correction. Globally, the impact of this model is profound. Developing nations are turning to China not just for funding, but for knowledge transfer. Countries involved in the Belt and Road Initiative are receiving not just Chinese concrete, but Chinese methodology, turning roadmaps into rapid reality. Infrastructure projects that would otherwise take a decade are being completed in a fraction of the time under Chinese management. This export of expertise, powered by parallel engineering, is fast becoming one of China's most valuable commodities. At the heart of all this lies a shift in mindset. Where other nations see red tape, China sees an opportunity to rewrite the rules. Where others see logistical nightmares, China sees a solvable puzzle. This isn't just about engineering, it's about ambition. China is no longer content to follow global standards, it's setting them. And as parallel engineering continues to evolve, it may just redefine how the rest of the world thinks about what's possible. The rise of the infrastructure maniac. There's a reason why China has earned the title of infrastructure maniac. And it's not just because of bridges or tunnels. It's because the country is building, expanding, and innovating faster than any other nation in human history. It's not hyperbole, it's measurable. From entire smart cities constructed from scratch to a high-speed rail network longer than the rest of the world's combined, China is not just participating in the global infrastructure race, it is lapping every competitor. Start with China's rail system. Back in the early 2000s, high-speed rail was a pipe dream. Today, China boasts more than 25,000 miles of high-speed rail lines, connecting over 500 cities at speeds of up to 300 miles per hour. In less than 2 decades, they've transformed rail travel from a luxury into a daily necessity for millions. Cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou now pulse with the movement of workers, students, and travelers in a way that no Western country can replicate at the same scale or speed. Then there's the urban transformation. China's Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities have undergone makeovers that would be considered science fiction in other countries. Entire metro systems have been designed, dug, and launched in less than 3 years. Shenzhen, once a sleepy fishing village, now has more skyscrapers than New York City. Pudong, the gleaming financial district of Shanghai, was little more than farmland 3 decades ago. Now, it's a skyline straight out of a cyberpunk film. Steel, glass, and neon stretching to the heavens. China's airport construction alone tells another story. The Beijing Daxing International Airport, nicknamed the Starfish for its bold design, was built in less than 5 years. Designed by Zaha Hadid architects and capable of handling over 100 million passengers annually, it's not just a functional space, but an architectural statement to the world. China doesn't build basic, it builds breathtaking. Compare that to Western airport projects, which often take 15 to 20 years and run billions over budget. China's execution speed is nothing short of elite. In rural areas, the mania continues. China has constructed over 4 million miles of paved roads, bringing even the most remote villages into the modern era. Electricity, running water, and internet access have become basic infrastructure in towns that were off the map only a generation ago. The eradication of extreme poverty in such areas wasn't just about money, it was about mobility. Once roads were laid, everything else followed. Hospitals, schools, markets. Infrastructure, in this case, wasn't just development, it was liberation. Globally, China is taking the infrastructure maniac mindset abroad. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, Chinese firms are building roads in Kenya, railways in Laos, dams in Pakistan, and ports in Sri Lanka. These aren't just construction projects. They are strategic soft power investments that allow China to export its model and influence. Western nations are watching, baffled and alarmed, as developing countries gravitate toward Chinese partnerships, not just for funding, but for reliability and speed. What's striking is the contrast between China's ambition and the Western inertia. In America, building a new subway line in New York City might take 20 years and cost billions. In China, entire cities spring up in half that time, with functioning transport, utilities, and digital infrastructure. The West debates. China breaks ground. The West hires consultants. China pours concrete. That's not an opinion. It's an observable trend, repeated in case after case. Of course, such rapid development isn't without consequences. Environmental concerns, forced relocations, and the risk of overbuilding are real. Ghost cities have popped up in areas where growth projections fell flat. Critics warn of debt bubbles and unsustainable urban expansion, but China's government has been surprisingly adaptive, shifting focus from brute speed to quality and sustainability. Recent initiatives aim to green the construction sector, emphasizing carbon neutrality, smart grids, and renewable materials. Still, the label infrastructure maniac is not a criticism in China. It's a badge of honor. It signals capability, vision, and action. While other nations stall in bureaucratic loops, China has leaned into momentum, and the results are visible from space. Literally. Satellite imagery shows highways, bridges, solar farms, and entire urban zones emerging in just months. It's like watching time-lapse footage of national evolution. In the final analysis, China's infrastructure revolution is not just about cranes and cement. It's about belief. The belief that the future doesn't need to wait. The belief that things can be done faster, better, and smarter. And that belief is fueling a transformation whose full impact the world has yet to grasp. The blueprint for the future. In the grand saga of human development, few stories unfold as dramatically as China's transformation from a rural, war-torn nation into an infrastructure superpower in just a few decades. What we've seen in recent years isn't just about bricks, steel, and concrete. It's about ambition redefined. A once developing nation has now built the fastest rail systems, the highest bridges, and the most complex engineering marvels in the world, all with a speed that leaves developed countries stunned and scrambling. The question isn't just how China builds so fast, it's why the rest of the world can't seem to catch up. The secret lies in an unshakable national drive toward modernization, combined with tight coordination between government, engineers, banks, and industries. Where red tape stalls Western projects, China moves with precision and purpose. From the Baypanjiang bridge soaring above deep canyons to the Sanuan bridge replaced in a mere 43 hours, every feat of engineering is a message. We don't wait, we do. But the implications go far beyond convenience and connectivity. Every tunnel carved through a mountain, every road stretching across deserts, every rail line that links villages to megacities tells a bigger story, of a nation repositioning itself at the center of the global stage. These are not just construction projects. They are declarations of capability, control, and vision. While the US Congress debates repair bills for crumbling infrastructure, China is laying down the foundation for the next century. Technology is at the heart of this revolution. Artificial intelligence-guided cranes, Beidou satellite systems for millimeter-precise navigation, prefabricated bridge components assembled with military timing. These are no longer futuristic concepts. They are the tools of China's present-day infrastructure playbook. Projects that would take other nations decades are now done in days. The result? A country where bullet trains cross landscapes at 350 kilometers per hour and where megacities rise like digital renderings come to life. And yet, perhaps the most compelling part of this story is what comes next. China is no longer just building for itself. It's exporting this infrastructure model to the rest of the world. Nations desperate for development, from Africa to Latin America, are looking east, not west. They want bridges that don't take 20 years. They want rail systems that actually get finished. And China is saying, we can deliver. But that global ambition also brings scrutiny. Critics point to debt traps, labor rights, and environmental impacts. There are concerns over geopolitical leverage and digital surveillance. The infrastructure dragon breathes both opportunity and controversy. Still, China presses forward. It is not simply reacting to the world, it is building it. So what does this mean for the future? The blueprint is already in motion. Next-gen smart cities, fully automated ports, green mega projects powered by AI and renewable energy, all are underway. For China, infrastructure is no longer about catching up. It's about leading the next era of civilization. And if the current pace holds, it won't be long before we stop asking how they did it, because the rest of the world will be trying to keep up. Thanks for watching. If China's epic infrastructure journey left you speechless, hit that like button and share your thoughts below. What project blew your mind the most? Don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping global stories. And stick around. Click the next video on your screen to keep exploring the world's most unbelievable mega projects. See you there.